Hey everyone, it's Sager. Let's talk about places that give you the creeps. You know the ones I mean. The kind of place where the air feels heavy, the silence is a little too loud, and you get that prickly feeling on the back of your neck, like you're not entirely alone. Maybe it's an old abandoned building where the paint is peeling and every floorboard creaks with the weight of some forgotten story. Or maybe it's a dense dark forest where the trees seem to watch you and the path ahead just disappears. These places have a certain, let's call it, charm. A morbid magnetism that pulls you in, even when every instinct is screaming at you to run in the opposite direction. The world, as it turns out, is absolutely packed with these eerie spots. We're talking about everything from crumbling, forgotten asylums where the echoes of tormented screams supposedly still linger in the hallways, to ancient haunted forests where legends and ghosts are as real as the trees themselves. These are locations where history went a little sideways, where tragedy left a permanent stain that no amount of time can wash away. They're the settings for our nightmares. The real-life backdrops for the scariest stories we tell around the campfire. And for some reason, we just can't get enough of them. So for all you fellow connoisseurs of the creepy, you've come to the right place. Today we're going on a virtual world tour of terror. We're going to count down the top 10 creepiest places on Earth, diving headfirst into their dark, often tragic pasts. We'll explore the chilling stories, the unsettling legends, and the lingering mysteries that make these locations so captivating for thrill seekers, paranormal enthusiasts, and, well, people like us. So, buckle up, maybe turn on a light or two, as we explore the places that refuse to be forgotten. Kicking off our list at number 10 is a place that isn't haunted by ghosts in the traditional sense, but by the ghost of a civilization abruptly cut short. I'm talking about Pripyat, in Ukraine. On April 26, 1986, the nearby Chernobyl nuclear power plant decided to have a little, oopsie, resulting in the worst nuclear disaster in history. The entire city of Pripyat, home to nearly 50,000 people, was evacuated in a matter of hours. They were told it would be temporary, to pack for just 3 days. They never returned. What's left is a modern-day Pompeii, frozen in time. Imagine walking through a city where everything is exactly as it was left in 1986, just empty. Schoolhouses with books still open on desks, toys scattered across the floors of kindergartens, and apartments with family photos still hanging on the walls. It's a chilling, silent testament to a life that was just switched off. The silence is the most unnerving part. A city should be noisy, full of cars and people and life. Pripyat is just wind whistling through shattered panes of glass. The most iconic image, of course, is the Pripyat amusement park. The Ferris wheel, which was set to open just days after the disaster, now stands as a skeletal, rusting monument to a celebration that never happened. It's become a symbol of the entire catastrophe. Bumper cars sit motionless, covered in decades of dust and decay, waiting for drivers who will never arrive. It's not a place of jump scares. It's a place of profound existential dread. It's a real-life look at what the world might be like after we're all gone. The creepiness here isn't about a vengeful spirit wanting to drag you to the netherworld. It's about the invisible threat that still lingers. Radiation hotspots are everywhere, a silent, unseen killer that makes the very air you breathe a potential danger. Geiger counters click erratically, a constant, unnerving reminder that this place is still fundamentally hostile to human life. You're not just a tourist, you're an intruder in a zone reclaimed by a force far more powerful than any ghost. So, while you might not see a spectral figure floating down a hallway, the sheer scale of the abandonment is what gets you. The personal belongings, the suddenness of the departure, it all paints a picture of immense human tragedy. Pripyat isn't just a creepy place, it's a deeply sad one. It's a stark, haunting reminder of our own fragility and the catastrophic potential of our own creations. A true ghost town in every sense of the word. Alright, from the existential dread of a nuclear wasteland, we pivot to something a little more viscerally unsettling. Coming in at number 9 is La Isla de las Muñecas, or the Island of the Dolls, located in the canals of Xochimilco, near Mexico City. And folks, the name is not a metaphor. This place is exactly what it sounds like, and it's somehow even worse than you're imagining. It's a small island, a chinampa, absolutely covered, and I mean covered, in dolls. These aren't pristine, pretty dolls in fancy boxes. We're talking about dolls that have seen better days. Much better days. They are weathered, mutilated, and grimy, with missing limbs, gouged out eyes, and decapitated heads. They hang from trees, they're nailed to fences, their plastic faces peeking out from the foliage covered in cobwebs and dirt. It looks like a deranged toddler's fever dream, a nightmarish art installation created by a serial killer. The sheer volume of them is overwhelming. Everywhere you look, a vacant plastic eye is staring back. The story behind this island of misfit toys is just as creepy as the scenery. Legend has it that the island's former caretaker, a man named Don Julian Santana Barrera, found the body of a young girl who had drowned in the canal. Shortly after, he found a doll floating nearby, which he assumed belonged to her. To honor her spirit, and supposedly to protect himself from it, he hung the doll on a tree. But one doll apparently wasn't enough. For the next 50 years, Don Julian continued to collect and hang dolls all over the island. He claimed he was driven by the spirit of the drowned girl who tormented him. He'd find dolls in the trash or trade produce for them, bringing them back to his island sanctuary or perhaps his island prison. He created this bizarre, sprawling memorial, turning the place into the terrifying spectacle it is today. Visitors claim the dolls whisper to them that their eyes follow you as you walk past. Some even say they've seen the dolls move their heads or limbs on their own. The final, deeply ironic twist to this tale? In 2001, Don Julian's nephew found him dead. He had drowned in the exact same spot in the canal where he claimed to have found the little girl's body all those years ago. Coincidence? Or did the spirits of the island finally claim him? Whatever you believe, the Island of the Dolls is a place where childhood innocence has been twisted into something profoundly disturbing, a hotspot for paranormal enthusiasts and anyone who wants to ensure they never sleep soundly again. At number 8, we travel to the base of Mount Fuji in Japan, to a place of unsettling beauty and profound sadness. Aokigahara Forest, also known grimly as the Suicide Forest. This isn't a nickname born of a single spooky legend, it's a tragic reality. For decades, this dense, sprawling forest has been one of the world's most used suicide sites. It's a place so intertwined with death that it feels stained by sorrow. The forest itself is naturally eerie. It's known as Jukai, or the Sea of Trees, because the trees grow so incredibly dense that they block out almost all sunlight and wind. Once you step off the path, you're enveloped in a disorienting, deathly silence. Compasses and GPS are said to be unreliable here due to the rich deposits of magnetic iron in the volcanic soil. It's incredibly easy to get lost, to become just another whisper among the trees. This natural eeriness is compounded by what you might find there. Signs posted at the entrance by police don't say enjoy your hike. Instead, they offer messages of hope, urging people to think of their families and seek help. Deeper within the forest, volunteers conduct regular grim searches for bodies, and it's not uncommon to stumble upon personal belongings left behind, a pair of shoes neatly placed at the base of a tree, a photograph, a tent, or even a suicide note. The forest's reputation is ancient. In Japanese folklore, it was believed to be home to yurei, the ghosts of the dead. It was also rumored to be a place where ubasut, the practice of leaving an elderly or infirm relative to die, was carried out in feudal times, though this is debated by historians. Whether fact or folklore, the association with abandonment and death has lingered for centuries, creating a palpable atmosphere of hopelessness that visitors report feeling almost immediately upon entering. It's a place that forces you to confront mortality in a very direct way. It's not about the fear of something jumping out at you, it's the overwhelming weight of human despair. The silence isn't peaceful, it's heavy with unspoken stories and final moments. Aokigahara is a stark, somber reminder of the fragility of the human mind, a beautiful, haunting landscape that serves as a final resting place for too many troubled souls. For our number 7 spot, we're going underground. Deep underground. Beneath the romantic, bustling streets of Paris lies a dark, silent kingdom of the dead, the catacombs of Paris. This isn't just a few skeletons in a crypt. This is a vast, sprawling network of tunnels holding the remains of over 6 million people. That's nearly 3 times the current population of the city above. Let that sink in for a moment. The story of the catacombs is a practical one, which honestly almost makes it creepier. In the late 18th century, Paris had a major problem. Its cemeteries were overflowing. They were unsanitary, spreading disease, and frankly, running out of room. So, the city decided on a massive, macabre relocation project. For years, under the cover of night, wagons filled with bones, skulls, and remains from cemeteries all over Paris made their way to a series of old limestone quarries, where the dead were given their new subterranean home. Walking through the catacombs is a surreal experience. The air is cool and damp, and the only sound is the dripping of water and the shuffling of your own feet. After a long walk through empty tunnels, you pass under a stone lintel with an inscription that reads, Arrête, c'est ici l'empire de la mort. Stop, this is the empire of death. And they are not kidding. Suddenly the walls are no longer stone, they are bones. And it's not just a chaotic jumble, the bones are arranged in surprisingly artistic, if not downright morbid, patterns. Walls are neatly lined with tibias and femurs, punctuated by decorative rows of skulls. There are crosses made of skulls, and even a heart-shaped arrangement of shin bones. It's a testament to the human need to create order in art, even when faced with an overwhelming amount of death. But it doesn't make it any less unnerving to be surrounded by the literal building blocks of millions of former Parisians. Beyond the public tour route lie hundreds of kilometers of unmapped, forbidden tunnels. These are the cataphiles, urban explorers who illegally navigate this dark labyrinth. Stories from this forbidden zone are even more chilling. Tales of people getting lost for days, of strange cult-like gatherings, and of a feeling of being watched by the 6 million silent residents. Whether you're on the official tour or not, the Paris catacombs are a powerful, claustrophobic reminder that no matter how vibrant the City of Light is, it's built on a foundation of darkness and death. Coming in at number 6 is a place that looks like it was ripped straight from the pages of a religious text about eternal damnation. In the Karakum Desert of Turkmenistan, there is a giant fiery crater that has been burning for over 50 years. Its official name is the Darvaza gas crater, but everyone knows it by its much more fitting nickname, the Door to Hell. Unlike our other locations, the origin of this one isn't ancient or mysterious. It's a very human-made hellscape. The story goes that in 1971, Soviet geologists were drilling for natural gas when the ground beneath their rig collapsed, creating a crater about 230 feet wide. Worried that the crater was leaking poisonous methane gas, the geologists made a decision that was, let's say, short-sighted. They decided to light it on fire, assuming it would burn off all the gas in a few weeks. Well, a few weeks turned into a few months, which turned into a few years. And now more than half a century later, it's still burning. Day and night this massive pit spews flames and boiling mud, a constant fiery roar in the middle of the desolate desert. At night the glow can be seen from miles away, a terrifying, beautiful and utterly unnatural spectacle. It's like the planet itself has a gaping, fiery wound that refuses to heal. The creepiness here isn't paranormal, it's primal. Fire is one of humanity's oldest fears, and this is fire on a scale that is hard to comprehend. Standing at the edge, you feel an intense heat wash over you, and the sheer power of it is humbling and terrifying. You can't help but imagine what would happen if you slipped. It truly feels like you're standing at the precipice of the underworld. In the darkness of the desert, the crater's glow attracts local wildlife, particularly spiders, who swarm towards the light and heat, only to fall into the pit. So yes, it's a giant, eternally burning crater in the middle of nowhere that also serves as a mass grave for spiders. If that doesn't check off a few boxes on your things I don't want to see list, I don't know what will. The Door to Hell is a monumental testament to a miscalculation, a permanent burning scar on the earth that looks for all the world like a one-way gate to perdition. For our number 5 spot, we're heading to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, to a place designed to inspire terror and penitence in the living, which now seems to be a permanent home for the dead. I'm talking about Eastern State Penitentiary. When it opened in 1829, it was the most famous and expensive prison in the world, a new model for criminal justice. Its whole philosophy was based on solitary confinement. The idea was that if you left a prisoner alone with just a Bible and his thoughts, he would become truly penitent. As you can imagine, this grand experiment in enforced solitude didn't exactly lead to quiet contemplation and spiritual rebirth for everyone. For many inmates, the crushing isolation led to madness. The prison's wagon wheel design, with cell blocks radiating from a central hub, meant prisoners were kept completely isolated from one another. They ate alone, exercised alone in individual yards, and when moved, had a hood placed over their heads so they wouldn't see any other inmates. It was a system of psychological torture disguised as rehabilitation. The prison operated for 142 years, housing famous inmates like Al Capone, before it was abandoned in 1971. Today it stands in a state of preserved ruin. Walking through its crumbling cell blocks is an incredibly eerie experience. Paint peels from the walls in giant sheets, cell doors hang crooked on rusted hinges, and sunlight streams through holes in the roof, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. The whole place feels heavy with the weight of a century and a half of misery. It's no surprise then that Eastern State is considered one of the most haunted places in America. The sheer volume of paranormal claims is staggering. Visitors and staff report hearing disembodied whispers, footsteps echoing in empty cell blocks, and the sound of cell doors slamming shut. A shadowy figure is often seen in the guard tower, and ghostly faces are sometimes spotted peeking out of the empty cells. One of the most active areas is cell block 12, known for reports of cackling, disembodied laughter. Another is the cell once occupied by Al Capone, where some have claimed to hear the faint sound of weeping. Whether these are the actual spirits of tormented inmates or just the product of a deeply unsettling environment, the effect is the same. Eastern State Penitentiary is a place where the cruelty of the past feels very much alive, its stone walls saturated with the suffering they were built to contain. At number 4, we're visiting a building that's much smaller than a prison, but it packs just as much paranormal punch. Let's go to West Palm Beach, Florida, to the Riddle House. At first glance, it's a quaint, historic, Edwardian-style house. But this isn't just any old house. It's considered so actively haunted that it had to be dismantled and moved from its original location because its ghostly residents were apparently terrorizing city workers. The house was originally built in 1905 as a funeral parlor. So, right off the bat, we're starting with a building designed to house the dead. Not a great start if you're trying to avoid a haunting, you know. It was later purchased by a man named Carl Riddle, who was a city manager and superintendent of public works. The house became his family's private residence, but it came with an unlisted tenant, the spirit of a man named Joseph. Joseph was one of Riddle's employees who, facing financial troubles, took his own life by hanging himself in the attic of the house. And it seems Joseph never left. His ghost is said to be the primary source of the house's paranormal activity, and he reportedly has a strong dislike for men. Male visitors and staff have reported being touched, having tools thrown at them, and feeling an overwhelming sense of anger directed their way. The attic, where he died, is considered the absolute epicenter of the haunting. But Joseph isn't the only spirit said to linger here. The house's history as a funeral parlor means there are likely other, less defined entities hanging around. People have reported seeing full-bodied apparitions, hearing disembodied voices in conversations, and seeing furniture move on its own. The activity became so intense and disruptive at its original location that when the city planned to demolish it, a historical society intervened. They carefully took the house apart, piece by piece, and moved it to Yesteryear Village, a history park, where it was reassembled. Even in its new location, the haunting continues. The house is now a popular spot for ghost tours and paranormal investigations, but it's definitely not for the faint of heart. Reports of aggressive spiritual activity persist. Objects are thrown, doors slam, and the heavy, oppressive atmosphere, particularly in the attic, remains. The Riddle House is a prime example of how a single tragic event can leave an indelible, angry scar on a location, creating a haunting so potent it can't even be left behind. For our number 3 spot, we journey to Rajasthan, India, to a place so notoriously haunted that the government itself has forbidden entry after sunset. This is the Bangar Fort, a 17th century fort that is now a magnificent sprawling ruin. By day it's a fascinating historical site, but by night, according to legend and law, it belongs to the ghosts. The story behind Bangar's curse is like something out of a dark fairy tale. The most popular legend involves a beautiful princess, Ratnavati, and a powerful wizard, or tantric, named Singya. The wizard fell madly in love with the princess, but knowing he could never win her heart through normal means, he decided to use black magic. He enchanted a bottle of perfume that her maid was buying, hoping that when the princess used it she would fall irresistibly in love with him. But Princess Ratnavati was no fool. She saw through his scheme and, in a moment of defiance, threw the bottle of enchanted perfume onto a large boulder. The magic, now released, caused the boulder to roll down and crush the wizard. But with his dying breath, Singya uttered a powerful curse upon the entire fort and all its inhabitants, damning them to a death without rebirth, their spirits forever trapped within the fort's walls. Shortly after, a brutal war with a rival kingdom destroyed the fort and killed everyone inside, including the princess. Today the fort is an eerie collection of ruined temples, palaces, and marketplaces. The Archaeological Survey of India, a government body, has placed a sign at the entrance that explicitly states, "Entering the borders of Bangar before sunrise and after sunset is strictly prohibited." Locals have countless stories of those who have defied the warning and either disappeared forever or met a tragic end. Visitors who explore the fort during the day report a strange, palpable sense of sadness and anxiety. They speak of hearing disembodied screams, the sound of women crying, and the clinking of bangles. Some have claimed to see shadowy figures or have felt an unseen presence following them through the ruins. The air is said to be heavy with a feeling of restlessness. It's a place where a tragic legend feels so real, it's been given the force of law. Bangar Fort stands as a beautiful, chilling monument to a love that turned to obsession and a curse that has seemingly stood the test of time. We're heading to the Venetian Lagoon in Italy for our number 2 spot, to an island with a history so dark, it's been called one of the most evil places on Earth. This is Poveglia Island. It's strictly off-limits to visitors, and for good reason. For centuries, this small island was a dumping ground for the dead and the dying. Its soil is said to be composed of more than half human ash. Poveglia's grim history began during the Roman era when it was used to isolate plague victims. But its role as a quarantine station, or lazaretto, was solidified during the bubonic plague. Tens of thousands of sick and dying Venetians were shipped here to die, their bodies burned in giant pits. It's estimated that over 160,000 people met their end on this tiny patch of land. It wasn't a hospital, it was a death sentence. If that wasn't enough to cement its terrifying reputation, in 1922, a mental hospital was opened on the island. The isolation was thought to be therapeutic, but the reality was much grimmer. The hospital was run by a sadistic doctor who was rumored to perform cruel experiments on his patients, including lobotomies, using crude tools like hammers and chisels. He conducted these torturous procedures in the bell tower, far from any prying eyes. The legend says the doctor's cruelty came back to haunt him. He began to be tormented by the spirits of the plague victims and his own tortured patients. Eventually, driven mad by the ghosts, he threw himself from the top of the bell tower. A nurse who witnessed the event claimed that he didn't die from the fall, but was instead choked to death by a ghostly mist that rose up from the ground. The hospital was closed shortly after, and the island has been abandoned ever since. Today, Poveglia is a decaying, overgrown nightmare. The hospital, the church, and the crematorium are all still standing, slowly being reclaimed by nature. Fishermen refuse to go near the island, afraid they'll drag up human bones in their nets. Paranormal investigators who have managed to sneak onto the island report extreme phenomena, being physically pushed and scratched, hearing blood-curdling screams, and capturing terrifying electronic voice phenomena, including one famous recording of a spirit crying out, "Leave, do not stay, go away." Poveglia is a place literally saturated with death and suffering, a true island of the damned. And now, for our number 1 creepiest place on Earth, we're going to St. Francisville, Louisiana, to a place that embodies the term Southern Gothic, the Myrtles Plantation. From the outside, it's a beautiful antebellum home, with a sprawling veranda and moss-draped oak trees. But behind that charming facade is a history steeped in slavery, murder, and revenge, making it arguably the most haunted home in America. The plantation is said to be home to at least 12 different ghosts, but the most famous story is that of Chloe. According to the legend, Chloe was an enslaved woman who was punished for eavesdropping on the owner, Judge Clark Woodruff. As punishment, one of her ears was cut off, and she wore a green turban to hide the scar. Seeking revenge, Chloe allegedly baked a cake poisoned with oleander leaves. Her plan was only to make the family sick, but she miscalculated the dose, and the judge's wife, Sarah, and 2 of their daughters died. Fearing the wrath of the other enslaved people, who knew the judge would punish them all, Chloe was supposedly hanged from a tree on the property. Her spirit is now said to be the most active on the plantation. She's often seen wandering the grounds wearing her green turban, but the most famous piece of evidence is a photograph taken in 1992 that appears to show the ghostly, transparent figure of a woman standing between 2 of the buildings. This image has been analyzed by experts and has never been debunked, but Chloe is just the beginning. There's the ghost of William Winter, an attorney who lived there after the Woodruffs. He was shot on the porch, and with his dying breaths he staggered up 17 steps of the main staircase before collapsing and dying in his wife's arms. To this day, Visitors and staff report hearing his ghostly footsteps climbing those stairs, but they always stop on the 17th step. The ghosts of the two poisoned children are also said to be seen playing on the veranda or appearing in mirrors. The Myrtles plantation now operates as a bed and breakfast for those brave enough to spend the night. Guests report all manner of paranormal activity, being woken up by ghostly children, having their beds shaken, seeing handprints appear in mirrors, and hearing strange music coming from an empty grand piano. It's a place where the immense tragedy of its past has refused to stay buried, creating a constant, terrifying intersection between the world of the living and the world of the dead. And there you have it, our tour through 10 of the world's most profoundly creepy places. From the silent, radioactive streets of Pripyat to the ghost-infested halls of the Myrtles plantation, these locations are more than just spooky stories. They are scars on the landscape, places where history, tragedy, and the unknown collide in the most unsettling ways. They are a testament to the fact that some events are so powerful, so tragic, that they leave an echo behind, an energy that continues to fascinate and terrify people from all corners of the globe. These places capture our imagination because they tap into our deepest, most primal fears, the fear of death, of madness, of being alone in the dark, and of what might be waiting for us on the other side. They are real-life horror movies that you can actually visit, though I might recommend against it for some of these. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, you can't deny the palpable atmosphere that hangs over these locations, a heavy blanket of sorrow and dread that makes the hair on your arms stand up and your heart beat just a little bit faster. So, now I want to hear from you. Which of these places creeped you out the most? Was it the tragic curse of Bangar Fort or the industrial hellscape of the door to hell? And for the truly brave among you, have you ever visited any of these locations or any other place that you think should have made this list? Let me know your thoughts and your own spooky stories in the comments below. I'll be reading them, with the lights on of course. Thanks for watching, and try to sleep well tonight.